Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of The Daily Grind. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about sewing machine language and how to talk the talk so that when you need a product for your machine, maybe it's a foot or a walking foot, that when you call up or you go into your sewing dealer, you sound like you know what you're talking about. Two things that we always have to ask customers when they call and they order a foot, maybe it's a walking foot or any type of specialty foot, maybe that didn't come with their machine. We ask people two questions. Is your machine high shank or is it low shank? And they're like, I don't know. So I'm going to show you how to determine if you have a high shank or a low shank or an industrial shank machine, because that's an important question. Number two, we often ask them, and this is very important, do you have a 5 or 7 millimeter machine or do you have a 9 millimeter machine? Because various brands will have 5, 7, or 9 millimeter, and you have to know because those feet are not necessarily interchangeable, because you could damage a component of your machine or break needles and things like that. All right, so I'm going to go to my machines and show you the different shank styles, as well as not only the shank style, but the opening in millimeters so that you can understand this and be more informed as a consumer. And as always, whenever you call up to talk to someone, make sure you have not only the make of your machine, whether it's a Janome or a Brother or a Baby Lock, but also the model number. That model number is sometimes imprinted on the front of the machine, or you'll often find it in the back where the serial number is. And sometimes the serial numbers are on the bottom. All right, so let's go right to the machines, and I'm going to explain these two things to you. You're looking at the bed of a Janome Gem Gold machine. This is an older model. It is a mechanical machine. You have the incandescent lighting. And this machine is low shank and 5 millimeter. So how do I know that? Well, the foot is in the down position. So if I try to put my index finger under this screw right here, I can barely fit it. And if the foot is down and I can barely fit my finger under there, then I have a really good idea that this is a low shank machine. Lift the presser foot up, pop off the foot by using the button in the back. And how do I know what millimeter it is? Well, this opening right here, this horizontal opening, this is where, when I rotate the hand wheel toward me, the needle sinks down into this area. This is a 5 millimeter machine. Let's look at the next one. The bed I'm looking at now is the Elna 760. And this one right here, notice the position of this screw. Now the foot is, again, flat against the needle plate, so when I put my finger under there, I have a lot more height to that area right here. So before, on the Janome Gem Gold, I could not move my finger back. On this one I can. There's a lot more clearance there. So the position of the screw right here, this is a high shank machine. I'll lift the presser foot up, and I'll just press the button on the back so this comes off. The opening right down below the shank itself, this is a 9 millimeter opening, so this is much wider than that Gem Gold. So on this machine, I need to make sure that I am choosing feet that have a 9 millimeter hole right in here to match this opening that you see on this needle plate. Very important. So let's move on to a different machine. The Janome machine you're looking at right now is the 1600P. Now this is the real workhorse in the Janome lineup. This is a straight stitcher, so it looks a little different on the bed of the machine. You'll notice that the needle plate looks very different. And let's look at the millimeters of this machine. Well, actually there's no millimeters, and I'm going to zoom in and show you why. If you look, there is no opening here, no horizontal opening. So when I drop the needle into the plate, it goes right into that hole. Also, notice the feed dogs on this machine. They're very close together, positioned directly under the foot. So where I was talking about that situation in a previous episode about one of my customers having problems with a really stretchy knit, and then I turned around and used this machine, the feed dogs are much closer together. They're positioned directly under the foot, and we got a beautiful stitch on really tricky fabric. And this is what I go to for those tricky fabrics or for really thick materials and thick projects using a lot of denim. So for example, on my most recent denim jacket, I did most of my stitching using this machine. If you look at the shank on this machine, I'll just pop this needle up, and you will see that this shank right here is connected to the foot. I can't pop a button in the back. I have to use my screwdriver and actually unscrew the shank, and it's actually part of the foot. So you take this whole piece off and then you put on another foot, and the shank is built into those feet too. This is known as what we call a semi-commercial or semi-industrial shank, or oftentimes we'll use the term industrial style shank, but this is not a true industrial machine. It's kind of that bridge between your standard home sewing machine and the industrials because of the power and speed. I can sew up to 16 layers of jeans denim under the foot of this machine. How do I know? Because I have tried it and I've gotten a beautiful stitch. But those feed dogs right here, much closer together, and that will make a huge difference in your stitching. And also, notice that that single hole, this machine only does a straight stitch. You really get a beautiful stitch. The machine that you're looking at right now is a newer model, Bernina 740. And if you look at the shank right here, this shank is in one piece. Now, Bernina has a very unique type of foot, and it's very easy to get these on and off. You don't need a screwdriver with these feet. Now, there are some older Berninas that do have feet that you can snap on and snap off at the bottom, but many of these are this particular system right here. So you'll see this little, it almost looks like a little stick in the back. To remove your foot, you're just going to push that up, and then the whole foot will just come right off. It makes it very easy. You can actually put your foot on with one hand, and you don't need the screwdriver, so it's very convenient. But when I pop that foot off and I look right here, this opening right here is a 9mm opening. So it's a little bit easier on the Berninas to get feet for them because they're all coded and they're numbered, but you still do want to check out and make sure you know the make and model. So your Bernina, whether it's like a 1008 or a 1630, you still need to let the person know, if you're calling up a sewing dealer and you want to order a foot, know which make and model you have, because that's going to make it a lot easier if you are not sure. So the standard Bernina foot is neither low shank nor high shank. It kind of has its own unique shank system on many of them, and your opening will vary with the machine that you purchase, because there are 5mm, 7mm, and 9mm in every single brand. But this one just happens to be a 9mm. All right, so that ends this video on knowing your shank, whether it's high shank or low shank, a unique shank, or the semi-commercial or semi-industrial shank, or the industrial style foot, and also what millimeter opening that you have on your machine. Knowledge matters, and I want you to sound intelligent if you have to call up your dealer or go into your local sewing dealer to purchase parts for your machine. Thanks for watching.